Imagine a place where black gold, oil, just flows from the ground, a place that's fueled the modern world. But here, a single drop of clean water, it's way more precious than oil. And that is the great paradox of the modern Middle East, a paradox that kicks off an incredible story of survival, luxury, and some really high-stakes invention.
And really, it all comes down to a pretty wild question. I mean, just look at this. When you see a perfect, bright green golf course, literally carved out of a sea of sand, your brain kind of short-circuits, right? How is that even possible? It feels like it just shouldn't exist. Okay, the answer starts with a number, and it's a big one. 1.7 billion. That's billion with a B. That's how many liters of water just one golf course in Dubai can guzzle down in a single year. Seriously, let that sink in. We're talking enough water to fill almost 700 Olympic-sized swimming pools every single year for one patch of grass.
So you're probably thinking, how on earth is that justifiable? Well, the guy in charge, Simon Windsor, he has a pretty surprising answer. He's like, hold on, it's not like we're using drinking water. Nope, it's treated sewage, wastewater. His whole argument is that the golf course is basically a solution, like a giant sponge that soaks up all this city waste that, would have to go somewhere anyway.
But look, that golf course, as crazy as that number is just one tiny piece of a much bigger, much scarier puzzle. We gotta zoom out, because behind these green, man-made illusions, there's a really tough reality. The whole region is running dry.
And this is where the scale of the challenge really hits you. The average person on Earth uses about 250 liters of water a day, okay? Now look at the Middle East. It's more than double that, a whopping 550 liters per person. And this is all happening in one of the driest places on the planet. The math just doesn't add up.
So what happens when you have that kind of imbalance? You get a global crisis, all packed into one region. Get this, 12 of the 17 most water-stressed countries in the entire world are right here. This isn't some far-off problem we're talking about. For millions and millions of people, this is just daily life.
And this goes way beyond charts and graphs. This is about real people. Rainfall has dropped over 15% in the last 30 years, so countries are in what's called a water deficit. They're basically using way more water than nature can give back. And that messes with food supplies, it jacks up the cost of living, and yeah, it could even lead to conflict over who gets the water. And as always, it hits the poorer nations the hardest.
Okay, so if there's almost no rain and people are using a ton of water, how in the world are they building these massive cities and living these lifestyles? Well, the answer is technology, just pure human ingenuity. They've built this whole high-tech toolkit to basically make water out of thin air or, well, out of the sea.
It really boils down to three main ways they're doing this. You've got desalination, that's the big one, turning salty ocean water into fresh water. Then there's wastewater reuse, like with the golf course. And then there's the one that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. Cloud seeding, literally trying to make it rain on command.
Now, the real engine behind all of this is something called reverse osmosis. The easiest way to think about it? It's like a super, super fine filter, but on a massive industrial scale. They take seawater and push it through these special membranes at crazy high pressure. Only the pure water gets through, and all the salt gets left behind. It's pretty amazing, and it's where most of their drinking water comes from.
And just to give you a sense of how critical this is for them, think about this. Almost half of all the desalinated water on the entire globe is produced right here in this one region. It's a massive industrial solution for what is, at the end of the day, a life-or-death problem. But, this tech miracle isn't free. It comes with some big downsides. Desalination? Super reliable, sure, but it uses a ton of energy. And it creates this super salty, nasty byproduct called brine that just gets dumped back in the ocean, which is not great for sea life. And cloud seeding? Well, it's cheaper, but does it really work? The jury's still out. Plus, you kind of need clouds to begin with, which can be a problem in the desert.
So all of this technology has sparked this huge debate, really about the future of the landscape itself. It's like a tale of two completely different paths forward. Do you keep engineering this green artificial paradise, or do you learn to live with and even embrace the desert for what it is?
On one side, you've got this engineered paradise idea, and this quote just says it all. A company's literally importing these giant thirsty trees all the way from Madagascar, just for a 5-star hotel. They're trying to build a tropical fantasy. It's all about creating an escape from the desert, not an experience of it.
But there's another side, a growing movement against this fake paradise. You've got landscape architects like Will Bennett saying, hey, hold on, no more lawns on the highway. Let's actually use the plants that are meant to be here. They're talking about native plants, stuff that's already perfectly designed to survive in the desert. It's a totally different philosophy, working with nature, not against it.
And the potential here isn't just a little bit better, it's huge. 90%. That's how much water they think they could save just by switching to native plants. 90%. I mean, that is an absolute game changer. It could completely rewrite the rules for how they use water.
So what's next? You know, as our whole planet gets hotter and drier, this choice that the Middle East is facing, between more and more tech or going back to a more natural design, well, that might just be the choice we all have to make sooner or later.
When you really think about it, the Middle East has kind of become this giant real-world laboratory for humanity's future with water. It's a place where we're testing the absolute limits of technology, right up against the wisdom of nature. And whatever happens here, you can bet there are going to be lessons in it for the rest of us.
And so that leaves us with this one big question. And it's not just for them, it's for everyone. Can we really engineer our way out of a water crisis? Or do we need to learn how to design with nature, not just dominate it?